if you would remember, then during our last lecture, we talked about uniform flow, and the way we discussed was we started with incompressible and irrotational criteria, and from there we got our potential function and stream function, and then we show that how circulation would be. The next building element, elementary element of potential fluid flow theory was our source flow or sink flow. Okay, and there also we went the same way. We used the condition of incompressibility, and from there we got an idea about our radial velocity, and that radial velocity came out to be inversely proportional to the radial direction, and there was a constant c. Now today we are going to talk about what this c is. That would be our lecture today, that we would talk about c. What is this component, what is this constant c, and where we got it from, and how can we get some idea about it, how it can be calculated. There are a few things which we know, that if C is positive, it is source flow, meaning by VR is positive, meaning by that flow is coming out from the from a singular point. And if C is negative, then our VR is direction is towards the center in 2D. That's what we have shown. Now to find the value of C, we would have to extend this 2D into a 3D, and that is something which you are seeing here in this cylinder, this red colored cylinder which we have drawn. That's what this is. Okay, you can see our XYZ axis. Z axis is passing through the center of this cylinder along the axial direction. Okay, this is our XYZ axis. And then similarly we have drawn another axis system, if you would see, which is R theta. R is actually going towards, from the center outwards, and theta is the angular axis. The length of this cylinder is L. What we have done is that we are saying that the value of C is related to the volume flow rate of the source. That this constant C tells us that how much volume is coming out from the source, or how much volume is going into the sink. Okay. So the two-dimensional flow shown above here is the same in any plane perpendicular to z-axis. What we mean by this is that you have a cylinder. If you take any slice of it along the z-axis, the flow is same amount of flow is coming out. Okay, so you can say that physically, since this is something ideal, it's not physical, but you can get certain idea that, let's say you have a pipe, and imagine that there are holes on this pipe along the circumference throughout the length, and let's say water is coming out of it, and assume that it is coming out of it in such a way that from each each of these set of holes on the circumference, you would get same volume flow rate coming out. So that's what this whole thing is. Now to analyze how much flow rate is coming out, volume flow rate, what we need to do is to take a surface element and then see how much volume flow rate can come out of it, and then integrate it over the entire circumference of the cylinder. For that, we have taken an element on the surface, and it is called as ds. Now this ds has a circumferential thickness of r d theta. This ds has a circumferential thickness of r d theta. Okay, and it is located at an angle of theta. So consider the mass flow across the surface of a cylinder of radius r and height L. The elemental mass flow across the surface element ds, elemental mass flow would be rho v dot ds. Rho v dot ds would give us the flow rate, mass flow rate. We know what is our v, okay? Our v is equal to vr, and we know how much area. Area is r d theta times L, this shaded portion which you are seeing here, this complete shaded portion, that's what this ds is. And also look at the vector representation. So it's rho v dot ds, and finally it came out to be rho vr r d theta times L. Since vr is same at any theta for fixed r, we know about it that, and we talked about it, that vr changes with r, but for a fixed r, for all theta, vr is going to be same. So since vr is same at any theta for fixed r, the total mass flow rate, the total mass flow rate across the surface of the cylinder would be m dot. I just need to integrate this d theta over its entirety, that is 0 to 2 pi, and rho vr r d theta times L, and this would finally come out to be 2 pi r L rho vr. Or I need to find volume flow rate, which would be mass flow rate divided by this m dot tells me flow rate, rate actually, volume flow rate. Now I am showing volume flow rate by this symbol of V, this slashed V. This would be 2 pi r L times VR. Okay. Now because for source and sink flow, I was talking about a two-dimensional flow. So what I am going to do is I am bringing another element here and showing it with the capital lambda. This is a Greek symbol, capital lambda, which is volume flow rate per unit length, and this would come out to be 2 pi r VR. 2 pi r VR, or my VR is going to be capital lambda divided by 2 pi r. Now comparing it with my VR which I got before, and that was C divided by R, I can say that my C is equal to this capital lambda, which is volume flow rate per unit length divided by 2 pi. Okay, so that's what I have. Okay, so that's what we have. Now look at this statement. This capital lambda defines the source length. It is physically the rate of volume flow from the source per unit depth perpendicular to the page, and the unit of capital lambda would be meter square per second. Now that we know how much is my VR, next point would be, like always, to find my potential function and my stream function. So this much I already know, that del phi by del r is equal to my VR, and that would be equal to lambda divided by 2 pi r. Also, I know that 1 by r del phi by del theta is equal to v theta, and since in source or sink flow we have only radial velocity, there is no tangential velocity, so this is 0. Like before, now what I am going to do, I am going to integrate my equation A with respect to r and B with respect to theta. I am integrating my equation A with respect to r, B with respect to theta, and this is similar to what I did before. So I will get my phi to be equal to lambda by 2 pi ln natural log of r plus a function of theta. This is my equation C, and I would get my phi equal to a constant plus a function of r. This is my equation D. Now I would compare my equation C and D. Comparing C and D, we see that this Fr is nothing but gamma, lambda, capital lambda divided by 2 pi ln r, and this f of theta is constant. And just like we talked before that for velocities we are interested actually in the derivative of phi, and whenever you find a derivative of a constant it comes out to be 0. Therefore we can consider our phi to be equal to lambda divided by 2 pi ln r. This is going to be my phi. Similarly, I can find my stream function. If I want, I can similarly find my stream function. That can also be done. Similarly, for stream function psi, I know that 1 by r del psi by del theta is equal to Vr, which is given to me as capital lambda divided by 2 pi r, and I know that minus del psi by del r is equal to V theta, which is 0. Again, you need to integrate this one with respect to theta. Integrate this equation with respect to r, and you would get here something like psi is equal to lambda by 2 pi theta plus a function of r, and you would get psi equal to a constant plus a function of theta, and from these two you can get your psi equal to lambda by 2 pi theta. Now just look at these, and you would see that your phi and psi are orthogonal function. Okay, now here I actually reduced certain steps while calculating psi, and I moved a bit fast, but in your notes, when you will be making your own notes, then be thorough about it. Okay, in exam or in assignment or wherever, if you would do it with removing these steps, then first problem will be you can't even do that unless you have memorized it, and there is no point in memorizing it. And it's a possibility that I may ask that, okay, find, just to give you an example, find the stream function and potential function for any kind of flow, and then I may ask you to prove that they are orthogonal to each other, and to see if they are orthogonal or not, things like that. I may ask that. There are again few things which you would have to see yourself. Okay, So you need to see and see it mathematically. You can even look in your J.S. Anderson book that how the streamlines are radial straight lines from origin. Okay, this may be a question being asked to you and you would have to prove it, and you can prove it by finding your psi and then showing that okay, this is how we can say that psi are radial straight lines. Second point, how equipotential lines are circle with center at origin. Again, this may be a question which may be asked to you and you would have to prove it. You would have to find the value of phi and then show that how this function actually represents circles with center at origin. Third point which may be asked, which you need to see, how streamline, sorry, how streamlines and equipotential lines are mutually perpendicular. Okay, that's the third point you need to see. And finally, you would have to find out, actually this is something you would have to do. Find the circulation for source flow or the sink flow. Now, once we had uniform flow, we found its circulation by taking a rectangular closed a rectangular closed curve, and that's how we found the circulation over there. Now for this kind of flow, I would recommend that you take instead of a rectangular, take a circular curve and then try to find its circulation. So this is something important, you would have to do it. Now we have talked about two elementary flows. We talked about two elementary flows up till now. We talked about uniform flow and then we discussed regarding source and sink flow. Now let us see what would happen if we combine these two flows. If we combine these two type of flows, then can we get something which we can really find in reality or close to reality. So the next logical point for us is to study combination of uniform flow with a source. Okay, here is my uniform flow. Okay, now if you would remember my uniform flow, I found its equation in xy coordinate system, and for my source flow I found its equation for stream function using r theta axis. But if you would see here, for uniform flow also I have transformed my psi equation, my stream function equation, into r theta, and that is easy, you can do that and you already know about it. Let's say this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis, and let's say this is at a this is something OA which is at an angle of theta. Then I can represent the x component of it, and let's say this OA has a length of r. Then I can easily find components of it as r sine theta and r cos theta. That's what I have used here. That's what I have used here. Okay, so I'm using a uniform flow where my velocity vectors are directed towards positive x-axis. I have added it with a source flow. Okay, and then if I add these two, then I would get something like this. Again, I have shown streamlines here. Okay, I have shown streamlines here. Now how I got this psi, we would come to that, but if you would see, you would get an idea that I have done nothing, just added the psi of uniform flow with source flow. How I got this shape, this is something which we are going to do now, because this is something which I didn't knew in advance about this shape. How we got this shape, we would come to it mathematically and see how we came to it. Now consider a source of a strength capital lambda located at the origin. Superimpose on this a uniform flow with a velocity of v infinity. So if you would remember about the Laplace equation, we talked about it, that Laplace equation governs potential flow, and because of the property of Laplace equation, the solution of Laplace equation, if we combine them, then the summation of solution is also a solution. So we are using that. If that's the case, then I can say that my stream function for the combination would be v infinity r sine theta plus lambda by 2 pi theta. That's what I have done. Both of these, this is a solution of Laplace equation. This is also a solution of Laplace equation. So a combination of these, a summation of these would also be, sum is solution of Laplace equation. And this was the beauty of the potential flow theory that we were talking about, that we can add two simple flows, elementary flows, and we can make complex systems out of it. Okay, if that's the case, and since we are dealing with the r theta axis, so we already know the value of psi. From psi we can get our Vr and V theta. So the velocity field is obtained by, you can get your Vr, which would be equal to 1 by r del psi by del theta, and this would come out to be V infinity cos theta plus k by r, where this k is nothing but a short, we are using a symbol to represent lambda by 2 pi. That's what this is. And V theta is nothing but minus del psi by del r, which would be minus V infinity sine theta. So I know my Vr, I know my V theta, I know both of them. If you would look at it closely here, Vr for a source flow is, if you would go back a little bit back, you would see that Vr for a source flow was lambda divided by 2 pi r, and the component of free stream velocity in radial direction is actually V infinity cos theta. Therefore, you would see that Vr, which we are looking at above, is nothing but addition, summation of Vr of source flow and Vr of uniform flow. That's what this is. Okay. Now, for the source plus uniform flow, it is nothing but, it is simply the sum of the two velocity fields. That's what we got. It was nothing but the sum of the two velocity field. Now this is consistent with the linear nature of Laplace equation. This is consistent with the linear nature of the Laplace equation. Now, since we have added this uniform flow with the source flow, if you would see that in uniform flow my velocity vectors or my streamlines are directed towards the positive x-axis, and if you would see that in my source flow there are few, if you would see on this side that my velocity vectors are towards negative x-axis. If I would combine these two, then there would be some locations where velocity would be zero, and that location would be known as stagnation points. Those locations would be known as stagnation points. Stagnation points are the points where velocity would be zero, and those are the points which we need to find. The stagnation point in the flow can be obtained by setting Vr and V theta to be zero. If I want to find my stagnation point, the only thing I need to do is to see where my velocity is going out to be zero. So my Vr, which was V infinity cos theta plus lambda divided by 2 pi r, if I put it to 0, and if I put my V infinity sine theta, which was my V theta, if I do that, and then afterwards if I solve the above two equation for r and theta, then I would get r comma theta would be equal to, just give me a second, r comma theta would be equal to capital lambda divided by 2 pi v infinity comma pi. It means that the coordinates for my stagnation point would be capital lambda divided by 2 pi v infinity comma pi, and that is just one stagnation point. So the stagnation point with the coordinate system, okay, r value is directly upstream of the source. It is at pi, at a theta of pi. So where is pi? Actually, if I would go to my radial direction would be r and angular would be theta, then pi would be actually here. Now this line is, for this one, if I would find theta would be pi here, and that is the reason I'm getting my point, you know, as B point is my stagnation point. B would be my stagnation point. This D point which you are looking at here, it is nothing but the center of the source. B point is my stagnation point, and therefore the streamline coming out of B would be my stagnation streamline. So that was the first point which I can see, that stagnation point, which is at a radial location of lambda divided by 2 pi v infinity, it is directly upstream of the source. And dB, this is something which you can realize yourself, that this length dB would increase if the strength of source increases. If there is more volume flow rate coming out of the source, then this stagnation point would shift more towards the negative, towards the pi angle. The radial direction would be more, Vd would be more. Also, for a fixed source strength is denoted by capital lambda. If I increase the value of infinity, V infinity, which means if I increase the velocity of my uniform flow, then Vd would decrease. So that's what is written here. Now substituting the stagnation point coordinates into the psi equation, I know my value of Vr, I know my value of V theta, okay, and I know my r theta coordinates. If I put my r theta coordinates in my psi equation, then I would get something like this, okay, a constant. This is a singular streamline, so my stagnation streamline would be nothing but capital lambda divided by 2, and this actually represents the curve ABC, and that curve ABC is this one here, my stagnation streamline. This is my stagnation streamline, okay. Now after doing all of this mathematics, let us see if we can talk about some physics and some reality. Let's look at the point 1 which we are making. In an inviscid flow, we are talking about an inviscid flow in which there are no or negligible viscous effects. In inviscid flow, velocity at body is tangent to the body, okay. In real flow, due to no slip body condition, at the body, at the surface, we would have zero velocity or zero relative velocity. But for an inviscid flow, it's a different case. For an inviscid flow, the velocity at body surface is tangent to the body. Therefore, any stream of combined flow could be replaced by a solid surface of the same shape. Meaning by that if I want to study a shape which would be something like a ship or a submarine, then that shape of reality, and consider that it is very long, then that shape of reality can be actually studied using this phenomena of potential flow theory by combining these two flows, uniform flow and source or sink flow, okay. Now that was for a half body. This body is parabolic or something like a curved in shape but moving infinitely towards the positive x direction. But let's say instead of that, if you are interested in something like this, an oval shape, then that could also be studied, and I would encourage you to look into that, and it is known as a Rankine oval. And Rankine oval is nothing but a uniform flow plus a source flow plus a sink flow. If you do that, you would get something like this. How about if I want to get a shape something like this? So instead of this shape, parabolic, it is like this. So flow is like this here. That is known as Kelvin oval, and you can study even that, okay. So that was the first thing. Second point, streamline ABC acts as a dividing streamline. It separates the fluid coming from free stream and emanating from source. Let's look at my ABC streamline again and let us see what they said. This stagnation streamline ABC, actually what they are saying that it is a barrier which keeps, outside of it would be flow due to uniform flow, and inside here would be flow due to source flow. That's what this point is trying to say. Third point, the flow discussed before represents the flow over a solid infinite body ABC. Now just put a solid body there. This stagnation streamline, what it is trying to do is that no flow would pass through the stagnation streamline ABC. It means that I can just replace it with a solid body, and the flow around that solid body can be easily represented mathematically using this technique of adding just a simple uniform flow with a simple source flow. Or if I want a shape which is like a submarine, a ship shape, something similar to that, an oval shape of let's say like this, or oval shape like this, that can also be done by using a combination of uniform flow and source and sink flow. That can be done, and that's the whole beauty of this. Now we would end our class today, we would end our today's class here, and if you have any question, then I would like to take your questions now, and from our next class, which would be on Wednesday, we would start with doublet flow, another kind of elementary flow. We would talk about doublet flow, but before we do that, that would be done in our next class. I can take a few queries if you have any questions.